Spiritual reality and junior youth. Baha'u'llah tells us that an individual reaches the beginning of maturity at the age of 15, when laws such as those dealing with obligatory prayer and fasting become binding. Viewed from this perspective, the years immediately before that age take on special significance. It is during those few years that the transition from childhood to the period of youth occurs. The sudden and rapid changes generally associated with this transition, physical, intellectual, and emotional, influence behavior in a number of ways. By the age of 12, signs of transition have begun to appear. Many youngsters will grow more physically over the next 3 to 4 years than at any other time of their lives. They will gain in height and body mass and will experience hormonal changes. Boys will develop deep voices, and girls will begin to form the physique of young women. Both will go through puberty, acquiring the physical ability to beget children. The physical and emotional changes that a person experiences during this period are interrelated. Excitement over the emergence of new powers and an eagerness to wield them are accompanied by awkwardness, sensitivity, and feelings of anxiety. These emotions may give rise to contradictory behavior. One may seem shy, yet on occasion be quite sociable, may express the desire to be left alone, yet equally welcome attention, may have incredible courage in some situations, and be rather fearful in others. Growing concern with one's own talents and abilities gradually manifests itself, as does an increased sense of awareness of one's place in the world, particularly in the context of one's relationship with both peers and adults. The way others see one's appearance and react to one's ideas takes on importance. Further, during the few years before we reach the age of 15, fundamental concepts about individual and collective life are formulated in our minds. Our power of analysis becomes stronger, and we may begin to question much of what we have been taught and to see contradictions in the world around us that has previously gone unnoticed. We are not as willing as before to follow automatically the standards set by adults. One is ever seeking answers to questions, often philosophical in nature, during this time of transition, and a new consciousness rapidly develops. If young people are to be assisted in applying fruitfully their emerging powers, it is essential to avoid treating them in ways that tend to, on the one hand, prolong their childhood, and, on the other, encourage them to imitate a version of adulthood superficial in so many of its aspects. A trend that, unfortunately, is taking root in more and more societies. Abdu'l-Baha indicates, after a time he enters the period of youth, in which his former conditions and needs are superseded by new requirements applicable to the advance in his degree. His faculties of observation are broadened and deepened. His intelligent capacities are trained and awakened. The limitations and environment of childhood no longer restrict his energies and accomplishments. Why do junior youth need spiritual education at this time? It is extremely difficult to teach the individual and refine his character once puberty is past. By then, as experience hath shown, even if every effort be exerted to modify some tendency of his, it all availeth nothing. He may perhaps improve somewhat today, but let a few days pass and he forgetteth, and turneth backward to his habitual condition and accustomed ways. What spiritual exercises are in this empowerment program? Rising awareness during adolescence can be directed towards one of two ends, towards submission to the will of God and self-sacrificing service to humanity, or towards captivity in the prison of self and passion. Abdu'l-Baha makes clear, the individuality of each created thing is based upon divine wisdom, for in the creation of God there is no defect. However, personality has no element of permanence. It is a slightly changeable quality in man which can be turned in either direction. For if he acquire praiseworthy virtues, these strengthen the individuality of man and call forth his hidden forces. But if he acquire defects, the beauty and simplicity of the individuality will be lost to him, and its God-given qualities will be stifled in the foul atmosphere of self. Know that the influence and perception of the human spirit is of two kinds. That is, the human spirit has two modes of operation and understanding. One mode is through the meditation of bodily instruments and organs. Thus it sees with the eye, hears with the ear, speaks with the tongue. The other mode of spirit's influence and action is without these bodily instruments and organs. The empowerment program is to exercise spiritual influence through action in serving communities. We live in an age when an aggressive materialistic culture is invading every facet of life. The exaggerated preoccupation with self that is woven into the fabric of this pervasive culture presents us with numerous challenges as we try to assist youth in developing their capacities. For even efforts that sincerely seek to help young people realize their potential and direct their energies towards the common good can suffer from the adverse influence of a worldview individualistic at its core. The problem is complex. Today's world system does deprive vast numbers of human beings of the fortitude required to lead purposeful lives. Therefore, confidence in one's moral strength is an issue to be addressed. It crushes people's true identity. Therefore, the realization of one's noble aspirations is a legitimate concern. It makes multitudes oblivious of the life of the soul. Therefore, discovery of one's true potential deserves attention. Yet, programs that emphasize the self do not necessarily remedy the situation. What frequently happens is that, in the name of self-realization, self-discovery, and self-esteem, such programs romanticize the individual and bolster the ego. Our challenge is to nurture spiritual susceptibilities in the young, that their tender hearts may be stirred by attraction to the most great beauty and turn towards the high ideals of selfless service to humanity.